to Deep Sleep Stories. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. If these stories help you relax or fall asleep, a short review, comment, or sharing the podcast with someone who might benefit is a simple and meaningful way to support the show so that we may continue to offer it for free. Now, take a slow, gentle breath and let's begin tonight's story.
Welcome to Deep Sleep Stories. Take a moment to settle yourself into a comfortable position, gently allowing your eyes to rest. Let the outside world grow distant as though each sound you hear fades into a soft echo somewhere on the horizon. Notice how your breath fills you, carrying with it any tension, and then slowly releases. With each inhale, let your chest expand in a gentle wave of calm. With each exhale, let that wave recede, taking away the day's concerns. Tonight, you'll embark on a tranquil journey that honors the spirit of Veterans Day, paying quiet tribute to service and sacrifice amid a peaceful, natural setting. The air around you might feel warmer, as though wrapped in a late afternoon sun, or it might feel cooler, evoking the hush of a twilight breeze. Whatever sensation arises, embrace it, allowing it to guide you further into relaxation. Inhale, exhale. This space is yours to explore, a sanctuary of rest and gratitude. Continue to breathe softly, feeling the subtle rise and fall of your chest, like the lull of gentle ocean tides. Imagine a softness beneath you, like lush grass or a soothing cushion, cradling your body as you sink deeper into calm. Notice how your mind begins to quiet, each thought slowing to a comfortable pace. There is no hurry here, and no demand for your attention. Everything is unhurried, like a leaf drifting through the air on a calm autumn day. You are free to unwind and simply be. And as you drift further into this comforting space, prepare to step into a quiet story. As you listen, you can let the gentle rhythm of the words flow around you, helping each muscle soften. You deserve tranquility. You deserve peace. Let yourself receive it now, one slow breath at a time. Deep in a secluded corner of the countryside, an old oak tree towered above a gently rolling hill, its leaves rustling with the faintest whisper of wind. Underneath its broad canopy, a figure strolled, quietly contemplating the passing of days and the meaning of gratitude. The figure's steps were deliberate, pressing softly into the moist earth still damp from recent dew. A hush lay over the hills, broken only by the occasional call of a distant bird. The oak's massive branches stretched overhead like a protective canopy, offering shelter, offering a sense of timelessness. Far below, in the valley, a narrow stream sparkled under the rays of the midday sun, winding lazily through fields of tall grass that undulated with the breeze. All around, a gentle warmth spread across the land, as if nature itself paused to reflect and remember. This person, a quiet soul named Everett, had chosen this day to honor the memories of those who served, those who sacrificed, and those whose stories deserve to be held in the heart. He carried a small bundle of wildflowers, carefully gathered from a nearby meadow. Vibrant colors, pale yellows, soft purples, deep blues peeked through the green stems, each petal a testament to the delicate beauty of the season. Everett walked with a slow, thoughtful gait, as if each step was meant to touch the earth with reverence. In his free hand he held a small journal, its weathered pages filled with poems and reflections. Somehow, this place felt like a sanctuary for those words. This gentle hillside beneath the majestic oak was the spot he chose for a moment of quiet, patriotic tribute. A meadow opened up beyond the hill, radiant with sunlight, flanked by tall pines standing like silent sentinels. Their trunks, thick and strong, held countless stories of their own, the stories of storms weathered, seasons past, creatures sheltered. Today, they bore witness to Everett's pilgrimage of respect. In the far corner of the meadow stood a rustic wooden bench, shaped by hand many years ago. The bench was well worn with smooth arms and a seat that had been polished to a soft sheen by generations of visitors seeking a moment of reflection. With deliberate steps, Everett walked toward this resting place. He found the bench empty, as though waiting for him, prepared to share in his silent devotion. Above, the sky stretched out in an unbroken expanse of serene blue, only a few wisps of cloud drifting lazily in the sunlight. A mild breeze lifted strands of Everett's hair and carried the subtle scent of pine needles and freshly turned soil. There was a sense of timelessness in this place, a feeling that the natural rhythms of the world went on regardless of all human concerns, offering comfort in their consistency. He let his hand rest on the back of the bench for a moment, appreciating the grain of the wood beneath his fingertips. It was warm, holding the memory of sunlight, as though the bench itself was encouraging him to sit and linger. When Everett sat, his eyes were drawn to the horizon. Miles in the distance, he could see the outline of a small town, the rooftops and spires faint, rising like tiny silhouettes against the backdrop of the rolling hills. Something about the sight filled him with a gentle nostalgia. He recalled days gone by, times when communities gathered for patriotic parades, times when the sound of a band playing military tunes would echo through the main street. He thought of the old veterans who would stand along the curb, saluting the flags as they passed, each star and stripe carrying the echoes of stories from the past. In this quiet moment, Everett recognized that the memories themselves, though sometimes bittersweet, were part of what made his own reflection so tender. Beside him, the bundle of wildflowers rested gently on the bench. There were daisies, lavender, and clusters of delicate asters. They seemed to radiate color and life against the subdued tones of aged wood. As a soft rustling of leaves fluttered overhead, Everett opened his journal, turning to a page he had marked with a simple ribbon. On the page was a short poem, one he had composed while thinking of the silent acts of bravery carried by so many across the years. He scanned the familiar words slowly, as though letting each line breathe. The poem spoke of courage, of quiet resolve, and of the unseen sacrifices woven into everyday life. Closing his eyes, he breathed in, allowing a wave of calm to wash over him. This was a moment for stillness and heartfelt remembrance. A gentle hush enveloped the meadow. The birds, so lively just moments ago, seemed to pause. Even the breeze softened, as if respecting the unspoken tribute. Everett thought of a story he'd been told by his grandfather long ago, a story of one night in the midst of conflict, when two opposing sides found a moment of unexpected peace, singing songs under a shared sky, remembering that beneath the uniforms, each person carried hopes and dreams. That story had stayed with Everett through the years, whispering of our shared humanity. He sat in that hush, letting the echoes of that old tale warm his heart, reminding him that sometimes the bravest acts are acts of kindness, generosity, and compassion. Time passed, measured not by any clock, but by the shifting shadows across the grass. The sun glided in a slow arc overhead, its warmth pooling on Everett's shoulders. Under the old oak, the light danced across the mossy ground. In that dance, there was a sense of belonging, as though all the elements of nature, sunlight, breeze, leaf, stream, and sky, were quietly linked together in an unbreakable bond. Everett marveled at how soothing the gentle interplay of nature could be. The hush in his mind felt as if it were expanding outward, connecting him to the larger tapestry of life around him, a tapestry that included all who had come before. He let his gaze wander to the wildflowers once more. The bright petals swayed gently in the breeze, each movement delicate and purposeful. Their colors seemed to speak of life, of renewal, of the enduring beauty that persists even after the harshest storms. It made him think of resilience, that quiet yet unwavering determination that so many veterans embodied. Their service, marked by countless acts of silent courage, shaped a sense of unity and hope in the heart of every onlooker. In that stillness, Everett felt a gentle gratitude rise in his chest, a gratitude that spread through him with each breath, each steady heartbeat. Occasionally, he heard the distant call of a lark, sweet and haunting. The notes carried across the meadow, floating on the wind as if to say, "You are not alone. Nature stands with you, past and present, and so do all the memories and hopes for the future." Closing his eyes, Everett imagined an unbroken chain of people, each linked by history, each offering a hand or a word of comfort to the next. The sense of connection comforted him, made him feel as though the swirl of time was gentle rather than daunting. He could sense that in this moment, he was simply a part of a broader story, one that spanned generations and found expression in gratitude and quiet reflection. At length, Everett stood up, the wooden bench creaking softly in farewell. The meadow, with its gentle undulations and vibrant palette, seemed to encourage him to explore further. The wild flowers, carefully gathered, stayed in his hand as he moved, Each step carried him through the tender grasses, brushing against his ankles with a gentle, tickling sensation. He listened to the rustling hush they made, a soft chorus beneath the broad sky. As he walked, the air whispered across his skin, tinged with the faint aroma of damp earth and autumn leaves. He took a slow, measured breath, letting that earthy fragrance root him in the moment. He walked toward the stream, drawn by its reflective surface. The water was clear and shallow, revealing smooth stones that glimmered beneath the ripples. Sunbeams played on the surface, creating shifting patches of golden light. Everett paused at the water's edge, his boots sinking slightly into the soft mud, and watched the gentle flow. The stream's steady movement reminded him of time's passage, constant, unstoppable, yet soothing in its own way. Kneeling, he trailed a finger through the water, feeling its coolness wash over his skin. For a moment, he thought of how, in times gone by, perhaps a soldier had paused by a similar stream, kneeling in reflection, seeking a bit of calm in a world that was anything but calm. The thought pulled at his heart, filling him again with that sense of solemn gratitude. Beyond the stream, a path curved through the meadow into a small grove of willow trees. Their branches swept low, some nearly touching the ground, forming natural arches of green. The soft hush beneath those branches called to Everett. Stepping carefully across the water by a cluster of flat stones, he entered the grove, feeling the temperature shift ever so slightly. The light grew more diffuse, filtering through the long tendrils of leaves that swayed in unison. This place felt private, almost sacred in its stillness. The ground was covered with a soft mat of fallen leaves, each brittle and gold, creating a subtle tapestry beneath his feet. He made his way deeper in, noticing how the outside world seemed to fade at the grove's edge, as though the willows enveloped him in a quiet cocoon of reflection. Inside this leafy refuge, Everett found a small clearing. Sunlight broke through an opening in the canopy above, illuminating a half-buried stone. The stone was smooth, as though shaped by nature's patient hand over many years. He touched it lightly, and then he laid the wild flowers against its cool surface. For a moment, he stood in reverent silence, imagining that the earth itself recognized the gesture. In placing these flowers here, he felt he was placing them on an invisible memorial, a tribute to those who stood in the face of adversity, protecting values and freedoms that sustain and nurture the human spirit. He closed his eyes, offering up a wordless prayer of thanks. The soft rustle of willow leaves provided a gentle answer, as if acknowledging the quiet act of remembrance. Opening his journal again, Everett glanced at another passage he had written some time ago. It was a note to himself, reminding him to stay present, to cherish each breath, and to let gratitude guide his steps. Reading it now, he felt the words gain a new depth in light of Veterans Day. His heart filled with a warm glow as he realized that presence, gratitude, and the willingness to remember are themselves forms of service. By showing up, by holding space for these memories, he felt he was continuing the legacy of caring that shapes our better nature. Carefully, he closed the journal and laid it beside the wildflowers, letting the energy of the grove enfold them both. He lingered there, allowing time to pass gently, the way a cloud slips across the face of the sun. Thoughts drifted in and out of his mind like ripples on the stream. He recalled stories of bravery and sacrifice from various wars, remembering how each generation carried its own burden of conflicts. Yet, despite the hardships, there was always a thread of hope, a thread that reminded people that kindness and empathy can grow even in the most barren of soils. In the hush of that willow grove, Everett felt the presence of that hope. It was in the whisper of the leaves, in the soft warmth of sunlight, in the simple act of placing flowers in remembrance. As the afternoon light began to shift, Everett sensed that it was time to move on. He carefully picked up his journal, leaving the flowers in their place as a silent offering. Exiting the grove, he took one last glance back at the swaying willow branches. The leaves shimmered faintly in the light, like countless little hands waving goodbye. Stepping back across the stream, he felt the gentle rush of water swirling around the stones. The entire meadow looked different now, touched by the golden light of the sinking sun. The tall grasses were cast in orange and crimson hues, as if nature itself was putting on a quiet fireworks display in celebration of the day's close. Following the path back toward the venerable oak, Everett allowed his thoughts to ebb and flow with each step. He noticed the subtle hum of insects now, the distant chirping of crickets as they announced the approach of dusk. The sun descended toward the horizon, painting the sky in pastel shades of lavender and peach. Silhouettes of small birds skimmed above the grass, searching for a final snack before nightfall. Every sight, every sound seemed to carry an air of gentle calm, as though the very world was winding down in a communal exhale. Reaching the oak once again, he placed a hand on its sturdy trunk. The bark felt ancient, carved by nature's slow artistry of sun, wind, and rain. This tree had likely stood through countless seasons, offering shade and solace in its quiet way. Perhaps, Everett mused, it had even been a place of rest for a passing soldier decades ago. Or maybe it had listened quietly to the whispered confessions and dreams of those who came to sit beneath it. In the grand stillness of the hill, it was comforting to realize how nature's continuity offers a gentle backdrop against which human stories unfold. He gently settled himself down at the base of the oak, leaning against its trunk. The bark pressed into his back, firm yet reassuring. Through half-closed eyes, he gazed at the sweep of land before him, the meadow, the stream, the distant willow grove. The light was soft now, the sky tinted with deeper hues. He felt his body relaxing more fully, as though the day's reflections had soothed some unspoken tension within him. The air had cooled just a bit, carrying the faint promise of night's approach. In the distance, the outline of the small town came into view once more. No lights had yet appeared in the windows, but soon they would, twinkling like quiet stars scattered across the valley. Everett thought of families gathered around dinner tables, of older neighbors sharing stories with younger generations, passing along the sense of gratitude that is born when a community remembers and honors sacrifice. It warmed him to think of the quiet flickers of kindness that sustain communities, the gentle gestures and shared remembrances that unite people across generations. He closed his eyes again, letting that warmth merge with the peacefulness of the evening. A single hawk drifted overhead, wings outstretched in the twilight glow. Everett watched its silhouette trace a graceful arc across the sky before it disappeared into the distance. There was a poetic quality to the moment, a sense that time was stretching out, allowing him to bask in the stillness. Below him, the last slivers of sunlight touched the meadow's grasses, turning them gold before the shadows claimed them. The hush of dusk was a lullaby all its own, inviting every being to rest and reflect. Everett let himself be lulled by that hush, feeling his mind slow as the day gave way to evening. Shifting slightly, he placed his journal on his lap and ran his fingers over its worn cover. Within those pages lived scraps of thoughts, snippets of verse, all shaped by fleeting moments of insight or gratitude. He turned to a blank page near the back and began to write. The pen moved gently as though guided by the calm of the setting. He jotted down a few lines about the oak tree, the willow grove, the quiet stream. He wrote of the day's hush and the feeling of unity it sparked within him. He wrote of grateful remembrance of the legacy carried by those who came before. His words flowed like a meandering creek, smooth and unhurried. As he reached the end of his thoughts, Everett lifted his gaze to see the first star emerge in the sky. A faint shimmer at first, then a steady glow. Evening was settling in, accompanied by the subtle harmony of nature's nighttime chorus. The chirp of crickets grew slightly louder, while far off, a gentle breeze caused the pines to sigh. This was the transitional space between day and night, where every leaf, every blade of grass, seemed to hold its breath in quiet reverence. Everett closed his journal and rested it on the ground, leaning his head back against the tree trunk, allowing the scene to fill him with its simple beauty. Night fell softly. The last traces of gold on the horizon gave way to deeper blues and purples. Stars began to pepper the sky, twinkling in clusters that stretched beyond the scope of sight. As darkness settled, the meadow below grew calm, the details blurring into shapes of quiet shadow. The bench, the stream, the willow grove, all receded into the gentle uniformity of twilight, yet their presence remained in Everett's thoughts like comforting friends who linger even when unseen. With a slow, intentional breath, Everett felt his body sink further into relaxation. It was as though the world was wrapping him in a cool, velvety blanket of midnight. In this restful darkness, he allowed himself a final reflection. He remembered the many faces of veterans he had known or seen in photographs, the lines of worry and resolve etched into their brows, the pride in their eyes when a small child waved a tiny flag in gratitude. He remembered the quiet tears shed for fallen friends. He remembered the joyful reunions and the painful departures. Yet, woven through all those memories was a reverence, an undeniable respect for the courage it takes to stand firm for the sake of others. Under the expansive night sky, Everett silently thanked them all once more, letting his gratitude join the hush of the land. A gentle breeze sighed through the branches overhead, creating a soft lullaby that seemed to say, "All is well." The oak, wise and rooted, stood steadfast under the canopy of stars, and Everett felt a profound calm emanating from this silent companion. He closed his eyes, focusing on the rhythm of his breath, the gentle expansion and release, and the subtle hush that blanketed the world. In the distance, a lone cricket began its serenade. The notes were repetitive, almost hypnotic, beckoning him further into a state of deep rest. With each chirp, a layer of tension dissolved, leaving in its wake a sense of serenity that filled every muscle, every cell. As the evening air cooled around him, Everett's thoughts turned to the universal need for rest and renewal. All creatures, from the smallest insect to the mightiest oak, succumbed to the night's tender invitation to rejuvenate. Here, on this quiet hillside, he felt that invitation as a gentle nudge, urging him to let go, to trust the peaceful embrace of the night. His eyelids grew heavier, the day's slow journey culminating in this moment of surrender. There was no more need to think, no more need to plan. Only the sensation of breath, the hush of the air, and the tranquil beating of his heart remained. Allow yourself now to drift into that same calm. Let the tranquil hush of the evening encourage your body to loosen its hold on any lingering tension. Imagine a soft blanket of star-dappled night air gently resting over you. Notice how comforting the darkness is, how it signals the time for true rest. Your limbs grow pleasantly heavy, your mind a quiet space of stillness. If a thought appears, acknowledge it kindly, then watch it float away like a feather on a current of warm air. Feel your breath, slow and easy, the slightest rise of your chest, followed by a gentle exhale. You are safe, you are at peace. Each moment is an invitation to sink deeper into the softness of the night. Let that sense of gratitude remain with you, like a warm glow in the center of your being. With every breath, let it expand, filling you with a peaceful acknowledgement of all that has come before and the promise of all that is yet to be. You have honored these memories well, and now it is time to rest. Slip quietly into the soothing currents of slumber, letting the breath guide you. Settle into the rhythm of evening and allow your mind to float on the gentle tide. You are cocooned in tranquility, your heart beating in harmony with the hush of the world around you. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well